So I think the time has come. Well, let's actually just run the application before we go any further. Control F5. And I'm going to enter a name. James Bond. Telephone number, has to be that, I suppose. And the region, James Bond is English, so we'll say he's based in EMEA. And now, I was rather hoping that the countries would get populated, but of course they're not going to because we haven't written any code to do that yet. What we're going to have to do is write some code such that when the user selects one of the regions, as soon as they do that, the country list becomes populated. Okay? And also, when we send that data to the web server, we'd rather like the data to appear on the business card here. So we'll start off by handling the text changed event on the two text boxes because that's the most straightforward. Okay, so we'll close Internet Explorer and we'll come back into Visual Studio. Let's go back into the ASPX page and make sure that you've got the design view up, not the source view. If we select the text box for the name and then come down to the property window and click on the lightning bolt, you can see there are various events here. There's an unload event and a pre-render and a load and an init, very similar to a page object in fact. But the event we're actually interested in is the text changed event. Okay, so if you just double click on there and it'll generate the text changed event handler for the name text box. And all we want to do in here is to get the text for the user's name and to put it into the business card label. So this is the code we need. Business card name label dot text equals name text box dot text. And likewise, if we go back to the ASPX page, and let's select the second text box, that's the telephone number, and let's add a text change handler for that one, and write a similar piece of code in there. Business card telnum label.text equals telnum text box dot text. So I hope you're okay with that. We'll run the application and see what happens. Okay, so let's enter, no, the name was James, if I remember, and the telephone number, let's just go for 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, you'll notice no events seem to be happening here. Well, this is an important thing. If you're used to developing Windows applications, then you might have expected a slightly different behavior. ASP.NET doesn't support character-by-character text changes, and it doesn't even, by default, support text changes when you move from one control to another. So for example, if I go back to the name text box and I type in James Bond and then I go into the second text box, it doesn't automatically generate the text changed event. It only happens when I update to the server. So when I click the update button, now at that point it's posted back to the server, and at the server it's triggered my events. The name text box changed event has obviously occurred and the other one has occurred as well. Now, just out of interest, you may be wondering how that happens. How does ASP.NET know whether I've changed the text in the name text box or the telephone number text box? And it's all to do with view state. If you remember, the view state that was sent back to the client describes the state of the page as ASP.NET generated it. Okay. When we click the submit button or the update button, we send back a new value for the text box, James Bond 007, and ASP.NET compares the old value in the view state with the new value in the form variables, and it sees that the text values are different, and therefore it generates the text change events in our code. That's quite an impressive piece of work there by ASP.NET. But the net result is that it's called the text change events on our control. It didn't get the timing quite right, I suppose, from our point of view. We still had to click the update button, but there is a resolution to that problem, and I'm going to show you that in a moment.